بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. In this Nour al-Quran reflection series, we try to develop a connection with the Quran through both understanding and memorization. We go over the translation of some of the meanings of the verses, some of the Arabic word roots, and some of the lessons and reflections from the verses. We also try to develop a visual memory of the pages and explain some of the unique and similar verses. In this video, we will talk about the 16th quarter of the Quran, which is 3/4 of Hizb 4. الربع السادس عشر ثلاثة أرباع الحزب الرابع. And it starts with أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ألم تر إلى الذين خرجوا من ديارهم وهم ألوف حذر الموت. And so for this quarter, it starts on the right-hand side, about half or 1/3 of the page, and it ends here on the right-hand side as well, the end of this page. So here we have 3 verses, and those 3 verses are kind of a separate topic. And then starting here on this left-hand side page, there's 3 long verses, and this is one story. So this story starts here, and we'll talk about the story inshallah, and then it ends here on this page. So 2 pages for that story of Bani Israel. And so one thing to notice here is that in this quarter, the word root for qawl, qalu, qala, qalu is repeated so many times. So you will see, since it's a story, there's so many they said, he said, they said, and the word root for qawl is repeated. There's also the word root for mulk. Malaka means to own, so it means like kingdom. So Malikan is the king, and Mulk is kingship or kingdom. And so you will see that this word root is also repeated so many times in this story throughout these verses. And here we have again qala, repeated several times. And here on this page, one thing to notice that we will talk about is those 3 parts of the story. فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ, that's number 1. فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَهُ, that's number 2. And 3 is وَلَمَّا بَرَزُوا لِجَالُوتَ. So those are 3 parts of the story that we will discuss inshallah when we talk about the story. And here we have 4 ayahs or 4 verses in this page. And this quarter here is the end of Juz 2. So this is the last quarter that we have in Juz 2. And it's an easy quarter to memorize since it talks about a story. And so it's easy to remember the verses and follow the events of that story. Okay, so now let's talk about the translation of the meanings of these verses. Have you not considered those who left their homes in many thousands, fearing death? Allah said to them, "Die." Then He restored them to life. And Allah is full of bounty to the people, but most of the people do not show gratitude. So this was a group of thousands of people who left their homes because plague had spread in their town. It was a situation similar to the COVID pandemic now. There is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says, when you hear that a plague is in a land, do not go to it. And if it occurs in a land that you are already in, then do not leave it, fleeing from it, which is basically quarantine. The moral of the story here is that they left their homes, risking spreading the epidemic to other people in other towns just to run away from death, and they still died. Our lives are in the hands of our Creator, so we should always seek to obey Him and to do the right thing. Disobeying Allah is not going to change our destiny or make us live longer. In the end, what has been written for us will still happen. This concept is so important now as we see so much selfishness in the time of the pandemic. Another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, if one in the time of an epidemic plague stays in his country, patiently hoping for Allah's reward, and believing that nothing will befall him except what Allah has written for him, he will get the reward of a martyr. Okay, so let's talk about the word roots here in this ayah, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى, and this is the first time of 3 that was mentioned here in Surah Al-Baqara. The second time is in this quarter, and the third time is in the next quarter, inshallah. And it means, have you not considered those? And you will see this repeated throughout the Quran. It usually talks about a story, or the story of some people that Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ about. Alam tara ila alladhina kharaju. So tara is from the word root for ra'aya, for to see. إلى الذين خرجوا, so means to exit, to leave their homes. From خرج من ديارهم, that's the plural of dar, which is the home. وهم ألوف, that's the plural of ألف, which is 1,000. حذر الموت, حذر is from the word root حذر, means to fear. الموت from موت, that's to die, so they were fearing death. فقال, that's from قال, to say. فقال لهم الله, Allah said to them, موتوا, that's again from موت, die. ثم أحياهم, from حيايا, means he restored them to life. So حيا is the word root for life. إن الله لذو فضل على الناس, Allah is full of bounty. So فضل is bounty from فضل, على الناس, upon people. ولكن أكثر الناس, but most of the people. أكثر is most, from كثر means many or a lot. أكثر الناس لا يشكرون, from شكر means do not show gratitude. So شكر is to thank. So لا يشكرون, they don't thank Allah, they don't show gratitude. And then وقاتلوا في سبيل الله, this is the second time of two. We've had one before. وقاتلوا في سبيل الله, from قتل. قتل is the word root for killing, but قاتلوا means to fight in the cause of Allah. وَعْلَمُوا, from علم, means know, that Allah is سميع, from سميع, means to hear, and عليم is from علم, so means knowing. So he's hearing and knowing, and fight in the cause of Allah, and know that Allah is hearing and knowing. Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan, so He may multiply it for him many times over? And it is Allah who withholds and grants abundance, and to Him you will be returned. So qard hasan, or goodly loan, it means spending your money in the way of Allah, in every possible good that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it also has to be from good money, which means lawful money or halal money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it a loan because He will return this good one day. You know that you are spending your money, but you will have it back, or have something better than it back in the future. It is not lost money, it is simply a loan that Allah will multiply many times and return it to you. So man the ladhi, man here means who. The man the ladhi, it just means who is it that. يقرض, from قرض, means to loan. يقرض الله قرضا حسنا, so that's the same word root. قرض is a loan. حسنا means from حسنة, means good, so a goodly loan. فيضاعفه له, from ضعف, means to multiply. له أضعافا, that's multiples, many times. أضعافا كثيرة means many multiples, many times. والله يقبض, from قبض or قبض, means to withhold. ويبسط, and here means to grant in abundance. وإليه ترجعون, and to Him you will be returned, from رجع. And then here is where we start this story of another story of Bani Israel. Have you not considered the assembly of the children of Israel after the time of Musa, when they said to a prophet of theirs, "Send to us a king, and we will fight in the way of Allah"? He said, "Would you perhaps refrain from fighting if fighting was prescribed for you?" They said, "And why should we not fight in the cause of Allah when we have been driven out from our homes and from our children?" But when fighting was prescribed for them, they turned away, except for a few of them, and Allah is knowing of the wrongdoers. And so here is again the second time of Alam Tara Ila, and this time it's Al-Mala', so that's the people, or assembly, an assembly of Bani Israel, the children of Israel, children of Israel, min ba'di Musa, after Moses. إذ قالوا, they said, لنبي, that's a nabi, it's a prophet. They said to a prophet of them, of theirs, Ib'ath, that's from ba'atha, means send to us. Ib'ath lana, send to us. Malikan, that's a king, from malaka. Nuqatil fi sabilillah. Nuqatil means that we will fight in the cause of Allah. Sabil is from sabala, that's the way of Allah, or in the cause of Allah. Qala, he said, hal asaytum, maybe perhaps. In kutiba, that's the passive form of kataba, means to write, if it's prescribed for you, if it's written upon you, if it's made mandatory upon you. Kutiba alaykumul qitalu, that's from qatala, that's fighting. Alla tuqatilu, that you will not fight. They said, قالوا وما لنا ألا نقاتل, means why should we not fight? ألا نقاتل, that's from, again, same word root, في سبيل الله. وقد أخرجنا, that's a passive form of أخرج, from خرج, means to, خرج is to exit, and أخرج is to drive someone out of somewhere, out of a place. And here it's a passive form, so it means we have been driven out from our homes. من ديارنا, that's our homes. وأبنائنا, that's a plural of ibn, means our children. فلما كتب عليهم, it was written upon them. القتال تولوا, that's from waliya, means that they turned away. إلا قليلا منهم, and notice that قليلا here comes with tanween بالفتح, and there's only one exception in the Quran with قليل, إلا قليل منهم. That's only in Surah An-Nisa, and here it's with fath, and everywhere else it's إلا قليلا with the fath. So qalil is from qalala, means a few of them. Wallahu alimun, that's from alima, he is knowing. Bil-zalimin, of the wrongdoers, from zalama. And their prophet said to them, indeed Allah has sent to you Talut as a king. They said, how can he have kingship over us while we are more worthy of kinship than him? And he has not been given any measure of wealth. He said, indeed Allah has chosen him over you and has increased him abundantly in knowledge and stature. And Allah gives his sovereignty to whom he wills. And Allah is all-encompassing in favor and knowing. وَقَالَ لَهُمْ, their prophet said to them, so that's the first time of two, and they're in two consecutive ayahs. وَقَالَ لَهُمْ نَبِيُّهُمْ إِنَّ, so their prophet said to them, إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ بَعَثَ, that's again, they said ib'ath means send to us. He said إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ بَعَثَ لَكُمْ. So in this first ayah we have a request from the children of Israel. They wanted a king so that they can fight under that king, to fight away the people that have been wronging them and killing them and driving them out of their homes. And so here is when the request has been fulfilled, and Allah gave them the king, and his name was Talut. He sent to you, قَدْ بَعَثَ لَكُمْ طَالُوتَ, that's his name, مَلِكًا, as a king. قَالُوا أَنَّ يَكُونُ لَهُ الْمُلْكُ عَلَيْنَا, how can he have kingship over us? يَكُونُ from kawana, that's to have it for him. So yakun is from the verb to be, but here it means that he would have kingship. So mulk is kingship from malaka. علينا ونحن أحق بالملك منه. أحق from حقق means more worthy. So haq is right, so it means that we have more right to kingship than he does. بالملك from malaka, so نحن is we, so we have more right to kingship than he does. منه. ولم يؤت from أتيا, he has not been given. سعة من المال. سعة is from وسعة, means abundance or wideness or measure of wealth. من المال is wealth. قال إن الله اصطفاه عليكم. اصطفاه from صفية, means he has selected him or has chosen him. عليكم, over you. وزاده from زوده, he increased him or given him. بسطة, so he gave him in abundance. في العلم from علم, that's knowledge, and جسم, that's the body, so it means stature. والله يؤتي from أتي ملكه, his kingship. من يشاء, whom he wills. والله واسع from وسع, means he is all-encompassing in favor, and alim from alima means knowing. And the Prophet said to them, indeed, a sign of his kingship is that the chest will come to you, in which is assurance from your Lord, and a remnant of what the family of Musa and the family of Harun had left, carried by the angels. Indeed, in that is a sign for you, if you are believers. And again, وَقَالَ لَهُمْ نَبِيٌّ, one more time, their Prophet said to them, إِنَّ آيَةَ مُلْكِهِ, the sign, ayah is sign or verse, مُلْكِهِ, his kingship, أَن يَأْتِيَكُمْ, that would come to you at-tabut, that's the chest, فِيهِ سَكِينَةٌ, that's from sakana, that means tranquility or assurance from your Lord, مِن رَبِّكُمْ, from your Lord, وَبَقِيَّةٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ, so that was a tabut or a chest that had some of the things that were left by the family of Musa and the family of Harun alayhi wassalam. Baqiya, that's from baqiya, means remnant. So baqiya is to stay, and baqiya is remnant, what has stayed. Mimma taraka, that's to leave. Alu Musa, the family of Musa, wa alu Harun, the family of Harun. Tahmiluhu, carried by the angels. Tahmiluhu al-malaika, that's from hamala, means to carry, and malaika are the angels. Inna fi dhalika la ayatan lakum, in that there is a sign, an ayah, lakum in kuntum mu'minin, if you are believers. Mu'minin from amana, means to believe. Okay. فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ, this is the first thing that happened, and then the second thing is فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَهُ, and then the third thing is وَلَمَّا بَرَزُوا. So this usually gets confusing when you're memorizing, if that's what you're trying to do, so we'll try to make it clear here in this explanation. And when Talut went forth with the soldiers, he said, indeed, Allah will be testing you with a river. So whoever drinks from it is not of me, and whoever does not taste it is indeed of me, excepting one who takes from it in the hollow of his hand. But they drank from it, except a very few of them. Then when he had crossed it along with those who believed with him, they said, there is no power for us today against Jalut, or Goliath, and his soldiers. But those who were certain that they would meet Allah said, how many a small company has overcome a large company by permission of Allah, and Allah is with the patient. Okay, so first, فَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ, when Talut went forth with the soldiers, بِالْجُنُودِ, that's from Janada, means the soldiers. قال, he said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ مُبْتَلِيكُم, that's from balaya, means that Allah will test you. بِنَهَرٍ, nahar is a river. فَمَنْ شَرِبَ, that's from sharaba, means to drink. مِنْهُ فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي, he is not of me. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَطْعَمْهُ, whoever does not taste it, that's from طَعِمَ. فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي, he is of me. إِلَّا مَنْ يَغْتَرَفَ, that's from غَرَفَ, means to take in the hollow of his hand. غُرْفَةً بِيَدِهِ, that's again from the same word root. بِيَدِهِ, with his hand, from yad. فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ, that's from sharaba, they all drank from it. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُم, except for a few of them. And again, this one comes with a tanween بالفتح. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُم. فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَهُ, that's from jawaza, means when he had crossed it. هُوَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ, those with the ones that actually believed with him. Those are the ones who did not drink. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believed, معه, with him. قالوا, they said, لا طاقة, so means no power. طاقة is also the word for energy, so no power for us today. لنا اليوم means today. بجالوت, of Goliath and his soldiers. وجنوده. قال الذين يظنون, those who were certain. So يظنون here is ظننا, but here it means to believe firmly, to be certain. أنهم ملاقو الله, and this here is a unique ayah. In other verses in the Quran it's ملاقو ربهم, but here it's ملاقو الله. Those who are certain that they are going to meet their Lord, will meet Allah. So from laqiya means to meet. كم من فئة قليلة, فئة is a company, قليلة is small. غلبت from غلبة means to defeat or overcome. فئة كثيرة or large company. بإذن الله with the permission, that's from أذن, and it's the same word root for أذان, means the permission to pray or the time to pray. والله مع الصابرين, and Allah with those who are patient, from صبر. And when they went forth to face Goliath and his soldiers, they said, Our Lord, pour upon us patience and plant firmly our feet, and give us victory over the disbelieving people. وَلَمَّا بَرَزُوا from baraza means when they went forth, بِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ and his soldiers, قالوا they said, رَبَّنَا our Lord, أفرغ from فرغ means to pour, أفرغ علينا صبرا, pour upon us patience means grant us patience in abundance. وثبت from ثبت means to plant firmly. أقدامنا, that's from قدم, that's the plural of قدم, that's the foot, and أقدام is feet. وانصرنا from نصر means to give us victory. على القوم, the people الكافرين, from كفر, that's the disbelieving people. So they defeated them by permission of Allah, and Dawood or David killed Goliath, and Allah gave him the kingship and wisdom, that is prophethood, and taught him from that which he willed. And if it were not for Allah checking, which means removing, some people by means of others, the earth would have been corrupted. But Allah is full of bounty to the worlds. فَهَزَمُوهُمْ, that's from hazama, they defeated them. بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, by permission of Allah. وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ, so Dawood, that's the subject, killed Jalut, he killed Goliath. وَآتَاهُ اللَّهُ, Allah gave him al-mulk, so Allah gave him the kingship. Wal-hikmah, hikmah here means wisdom, but what it means here is prophethood. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Dawood a prophet, and then his son was also, Sulaiman was also a prophet. وَعَلَّمَهُ, he taught him, alima, مِمَّا يَشَاء, from what he willed. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ, that's from دَفَعَ. دَفَعَ in Arabic means to push, and what it means here is to remove, that Allah removes some people by means of others. وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ, some of them by means of others, so بَعْض is some. لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْض, فَسَدَت from فَسَدَ means to corrupt, so the earth would have been corrupted. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ ذُو فَضْلٍ, Allah is full of bounty, that's from فضل, على العالمين, over the worlds, from علم. So we can see here that the tests and tribulations that Allah sends are to develop our self-control and faith. It is said in the books of Quranic exegesis, or the commentary on the Quran, that Talut originally had an army of 80,000 men. Only 4,000 of them did not drink from the river that they were told not to drink from. So only 4,000 passed the first trial. The second trial, or the second test, was the fear of meeting the enemy, especially that now they were outnumbered. So even a smaller percent of those 4,000, so it's said to be around 300 men, passed the second test and had the firmness and courage to meet the enemy and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for firmness and patience. Now this small number, by the help of Allah, were able to defeat the enemy. So it is never about the quantity, it is about the quality of the people. These serial trials and tribulations in our lives are meant to bring about the best in us, to make us stronger, firmer, and more patient, and able to accomplish what is normally perceived to be difficult to accomplish. And then Allah ends this story by this ayah. These are the verses of Allah which we recite to you, O Muhammad ﷺ, in truth, and indeed you are from among the messengers. Tilka ayatullah, tilka means these, ayatu, the verses of Allah, natluha from talaya, we recite to you, we recite them to you, alayka, over you, or recite to you, bilhaq, in truth, from haqaqa, wa innaka, and you are, لَمِنَ, indeed you are from among. Al-Mursalin, from Rasala, means the messengers. And then this ending here, تِلْكَ آيَاتُ اللَّهِ, is the last ayah of the second juz, and then the third juz starts with tilka rusul. So these are the verses, and these are the messengers. Tilka rusul, that's the beginning of the third juz of the Quran. So we have وَإِنَّكَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ here, and then the next page is going to be tilka rusul. Okay, so the first unique ayah here is mulaqullahi, and we said that in other surahs it's mulaqu rabbihim. So here in Surah Al-Baqara we had الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم, and in Surah Hud إنهم ملاقو ربهم. And then here we had similarities. Alam tara 3 times, twice here in this quarter and once again in the next quarter, inshallah. We also had وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The first one was in the quarter of يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ. But here وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَاعْلَمُوا وَقَالَ لَهُمْ نَبِيُّهُمْ. That was mentioned twice in 2 consecutive ayahs. And all of these similarities and unique ayahs are in the PDF of this quarter that is found in the description of this video.